Well, I want to show you this video where the bishop is going to address why he was visited by members of the Biden Kamala Harris IRS. And this was after he had spoken about them. This is when they were both running for office before Biden became president. And he was addressing issues of Kamala when she was running with Joe Biden to be the VP. And so he speaks this truth, and he's just sharing nothing but facts. And it's not only him that's saying it. This have nothing to do with anything else but sharing the truth, because even Biden, which I'll show you a clip of, called Kamala out on it. Even Tulsi Gabbard called Kamala out on it in different debates when they were all trying to run for the Democratic nominee to win 2020. So this pastor says something, and he gets a visit by the IRS, by Biden's regime IRS. Now, take in mind, you can go and say anything you want against a Republican or conservative person. That's no problem. But if you say something against one of theirs under this regime, they will knock on your door. Let alone, not to mention, under the Biden regime, there were people, they were locking up not only people who had nothing to do with going into the Capitol building on January 6th, just because they even were within the radius. People who weren't even there in the radius was getting arrested for no reason. They just said we're just going after people no matter what. We're just going after you. And that's this tyrannical Biden regime. Let alone there was, there's all these different things where even Catholics were targeted by the Biden regime. So a young black lady targeted for speaking at an abortion office, which I'll do another video on later, by the Biden-Harris regime. So he's just pointing out some things about her, and we'll add some other videos to show context to this, but check out what this pastor has to say. The bishop in the Church of God in Christ.
I call her Miss Lock Up a Brother, for when she was the AG in California, a Negro knew, a black man knew that he was dead in the water. He was dead in the water. Matter of fact, you don't need a trial. You might well go into jail if you appear before her, because she took pride in locking up black folk. And now all of a sudden she's trying to be sister girl. I'm telling it. Check out her record. She locked us up left and right. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, you did, Kamala, however I should pronounce it. You did. And now we're supposed to forget all that stuff. And she boasted in California that she was one of the first. I got the tape cued, but my time's up to date. One of the first I showed you Thursday night to perform a same-sex marriage. Y'all want to see it? You want to see it? Let it rip.
Let the rings exchanged and the vows declared symbolize your commitment, sincerity, and affection.
Yeah.
And may your love never falter.
May your love never falter.
By virtue of the power and authority vested in me by the state of California, I now declare you spouses for life.
Cut. Now that is who's supposed to deliver us. Now, are you crazy? I like what Maya Angelou says. She said, when the people show you who they are, believe them. That's Kamala. And let me tell you, anybody who's trying to turn America into Sodom and Gomorrah is not good for this nation. She's not good for the state, and she ain't good for black folk. Born male, women born female. We need real people. Ah! Somebody shout something to God. They have their agenda. This is why they're trying to stay home. Stay home. Don't go out. Stay home. They're trying to break you. Break your mind so that they can get in place and promote open borders, which would flood the country with illegals where they take the rest of the job that black folk used to have. They want to bring in socialism and Marxism, forms of government that teaches that God is not the deliverer and that our rights do not come from God, but that government is God. And that we must serve the state. It is Antichrist. That's what's behind, praise the Lord, keeping all this stuff going. You think people are just protesting? Have you ever asked them, what are you protesting? Why are you still doing it? What's wrong now? Oh, they're being paid to do it. They're being paid to do it. George Soros is financing Antifa, and they've given Black Lives Matter millions of dollars, hundreds of millions. Any black businesses seen that money? Any of the black communities seen that money? Any black kids trying to go to college seen any of that money? If you read what they say they're for, they don't mention the black male one time. They're not for the black male, and you can't have a black community without the black male. Preach wooden. They say that they are trained Marxists. Marxists, they are not.
So everything he said was facts. She was the border czar, appointed by the Biden administration. Now they got a memo that came out where they're trying to deny that, which I'll probably show in another video, where they're trying to deny that she was even the border czar, of course, because it would look bad on her if they saw, oh, we have all these people coming in illegally and you were supposed to be over it. Of course, she has no record to run on because she can't run off of Biden's. Biden had nothing good on his record. She can't run off of that, and she has nothing good, that she can run off of. No accomplishments. So this is what they're trying to do, to hide and conceal it. Now you have Biden trying to usurp his authority to get Congress to overturn the Supreme Court because he don't like the judgments that are coming down the pike. Talk about someone being a tyrant. Talk about someone being a dictator. Well, So now he's trying to get the Trump immunity turned over because he don't like the judgment. Imagine that, Democrats. So put this video in context. I mean, this is nothing but the truth, but yet we have silly, gullible, and naive black Christians just because they see a person of color running for office. I'm with him, I'm with her, and they ain't did a doggone thing for you. But yet it's this mentality of vote blue no matter who that has kept people on the mental, spiritual, or even the Democratic plantation. And you have to break free from that. And this is what kept people so long, black folks and people of color, other races of color and minorities are guilty of it as well. Oh, an Asian is running. Man, we all Asians, we got to get behind them. Mexicans, we all got to get behind them. But we don't examine the policies. And her policies is anti-God, anti-family, anti-life, ultimately anti-Christ. And so before you say, I'm with him, I'm with her, look at the policies. I'm not talking about the personal or moral flaws of a person because everyone falls short. I'm talking about the policies. I mean, as a whole, you see what's happening in Chicago and New York, and it's ultimately it's falls on Kamala and Biden's watch. They're the ones who's supposed to be over it, and they're the ones who's taking orders from high up to let all these millions, upscale of 10 to even some estimate 20, some say 30, but I say conservatively anywhere between 10 to 20 million coming across the border. And now they want to fast track some of them to citizenship, or you have Democrats at one even proposing to pass a law where if they get in the military, they can get instant citizenship. You have Gavin Newsom, Democrat in California, allowing some, without being citizens, police United States citizens. You have people like Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, and now I think Brandon Johnson in Chicago, who's the mayor now, who they are always the token. They act like they're for black folks and for people of color, and primarily, ultimately, just being for American citizens in their states, but they're not, because they give all of these pilot programs and thousands of dollars to people coming across the border, not just from South America and Mexico, but from all like 25 different countries: China, India, Asian, Arabic and Muslim countries, Africa, all kind of different places coming across the border, unvetted, unchecked, catch and release. And yet you have Merrick Garland, who's AG for Biden, fighting to keep the border open when he tried to challenge Greg Abbott, governor of Texas, for fighting to preserve his border. So they're always on the wrong side of their people. They always are not in the interests or best interests of the American people. So this is why you've been having all of these murders. People have been getting killed, raped, different women attacked. And actually, the Harris and Biden administration should be sued and held accountable for these things. But to put it in context, let's look at this video where Kamala was called out to back up what the bishop's saying. Let's look at what was said in these debates before Biden became president.
When Senator Harris was the Attorney General for 8 years in the state of California, there were two of the most segregated school districts in the country, in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. And she did not, I didn't see a single solitary time she brought a case against them to desegregate them. Secondly, she also was in a situation where she had a police department when she was there that in fact was abusing people's rights. And the fact was that she, in fact, was told by her own people, that her own staff, that she should do something about and disclose to defense attorneys like me that you, in fact, have been, the police officer did something that did not give you information would exculpate your client. She didn't do that. She never did it. And so what happened? Along came a federal judge and said, enough, and he freed 1,000 of these people. If you doubt me, Google 1,000 prisoners freed, Kamala Harris.
Thank you, Vice President Biden.
Bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken.
I think it's weird that black folks are forcing the black card on Kamala or Kamani Harris. Kamala, whatever the fuck.
Beep.
Y'all don't think that's weird? This is her family right here. That look like a black household? That's the household you grew up in? That's not the... Nigga, I can't recognize this shit. Nigga, I'm FBA. I'm from this soil, nigga. From the slave plantations here, nigga. I don't recognize this family. All right? But y'all can keep putting the black card on somebody. It's kind of weird that you're trying to force the blackness on somebody. That's that slave in you, boy. Cut it out.
In 2008, I was framed for murder and wrongfully convicted by the office of Kamala Harris, sentenced 50 to life in prison. It took me 5.5 years to ultimately get back in the trial due to prosecutorial misconduct, and it took me another year to go to my second trial, to which I was vindicated by a jury of my peers. When I got convicted, Kamala Harris was in the courtroom. When I got sentenced 50 to life in prison, Kamala Harris was in the courtroom. When I looked back and I seen her, she was smiling. And she did that stupid ass laugh that she do right now. This shit ain't funny.
So that was just one of the many guys that she locked up. And, she doesn't care about black folks. I mean, that's just the whole mentality of the, you know. And I'm not saying put your faith in one party or the other because they're both flawed. But again, you have to look at policies. I guess to say it best, I'm gonna let this one brother say what he has to say. But we'll probably say that for another video. But let's get down to what we're originally here for, and let's look at why. Now the pastor discussing this, the IRS coming at him. So here is Bishop Wooden telling the story now, finally, about what had happened when he said what he did and the IRS coming after him, and I'll add some commentary.
And the IRS, the government, watches me. I've heard from them. They've told me that. We know who you are. We're watching you. And they came to see me. Sent agents to see me. We met here. 3 agents, all of them from out of state. That's 3 plane tickets, 3 hotel rooms. I mean, they spent money to come after me. And we met in the suite. It was my wife, myself. I had to get an attorney. My attorney and those 3 agents.
The weaponization of the IRS, of the FBI against people that do not adhere to the Marxist communist line is growing. I remember hearing about this story regarding Bishop Wooden and Vice President Kamala Harris when he was speaking out about her policies about 3 years ago, how the IRS came to his church, how they were threatening him because he spoke out against Kamala Harris and the Democratic platform. Now, mind you, if he was speaking out against a Republican platform, against anything that is conservative in nature, he would not have received this harassment. But because he decided to speak out and stand for truth, he was harassed.
I have heard from a lot of people who are calling me at home and texted me and letting me know that they're with me. In 2020, when Kamala Harris was running with Joe Biden to be the VP, during that time, we said something and made a tape and put it out there, and it has resurfaced. It has gained new life. It has gone viral again, and people are calling me, cheering me on. Now, let me tell you where I'm not headed. Because some of y'all, you're getting a weird look on your face. I'm not standing up here to disavow that. Because I said it, and I meant it.
In today's world, it's so good to see somebody that stands behind something they said. Too many Christians are weak-kneed. Too many Christians are afraid of offending people that they will not stand on biblical truth at all.
And I still feel the same way. But when I said that, what I said was, I said she was bad for black people. I did. And I'll tell you why. The reasons I gave. She boasted that she performed the first same-sex marriage of California. I didn't know it until she told that. I don't think with 70% of our children being born to families where there are no moms, where there are no dads, do we need to see, little boy ain't got a daddy, do we need to see same-sex couples in the community? Do you think that's good? Don't you think that adds to the confusion? People already make jokes about black boys and black kids on Father's Day. Cruel people say that the average black boy have nothing to celebrate. What's sad is, for 70% of them, it's true. So do you want to add?
And no one talks about that in the black community. Nobody. A few preachers here and there, and I talk about it on this channel. But by and large, people tend to sweep that under the rug, tend to ignore it. But that is the cause for the bulk of the issues that we're experiencing in the black community.
And let me add, too, that, see, and it's more than just, you look at the moral issues like this, but even if you look at the policies, not only on the border, which greatly affects minorities in their jobs, because they come in, people come across unvetted and they take their jobs, and they're pushing every agenda that you can think of. There's no agenda that they have that helps and benefits American citizens. Not one. Not one. Biden has not one policy. Neither does Kamala, because she's just another branch of him. They're the same. Obama didn't endorse her at first, but then when he realized he couldn't get around no one else, and because of some certain rules for campaign rules, he had to go with her and other things. So the point was I'm trying to say is that when Bishop Wooden said now she's trying to be sister girl, there's a clip, I may show it later on, where she completely acknowledged herself being Indian or Caribbean, because her dad was half Jamaican, African, whatever, and then the family is Indian. And she had nothing to do with associating herself with being black at all, even though she slept around with, black men here and there. And her rise to fame as a prosecutor was by sleeping with a black mayor, Willie Brown. But that's neither here or there. I'm just saying she's a chameleon, as Laura Ingraham says, and she's what she wants to be when she needs to be. And that's how politicians, some of these politicians are. And yeah, you'll see her in church and silly black Christians get behind her and, oh yes, hallelujah, I'm with her. She's the prosecutor, but don't know how corrupt and evil she was and how she didn't care about you. She don't care about, she's a sister when it's convenient for her. So those who want to get tangled up in race identity politics, you're being foolish. That's not what it should be about. It shouldn't be about a race. It should be about our policies. And if you want to compare the two, let me tell you, Trump's is by far way better. I'm not talking about the individual. I'm talking about the policies, the individuals and the plans laid out. If you have to compare the two, have been way better than theirs. And then all these issues, these social issues that Kamala wants to push. She's even been called by her own party as the most radical socialist senator at that time in her party. The most radical. Though she tried to walk that back. So let's continue.
Don't have the man in the home. You don't have the covering of the man in the home. As a reminder, it's Jesus, man, woman, children. God, man, woman, children. And when you don't have that covering in the home, young boys grow up without a father. More than likely, they end up involved in violent crime, drug use, in jail, or dead. And what do? They are hurting. And because they're hurting, they don't know how to deal with it. So what do? They lose the value of life, of their life and the lives of others. And so this perpetual cycle is going over and over and over again. And what do democratic policies do? Instead of fixing the problem, they exacerbate it. They make it worse. They elevate the single mom. They put the single mom on a pedestal, and they constantly denigrate the man. So the man, if he's not strong in himself, he doesn't have a strong relationship with God, he will walk out the door. And that's what they want. They want the disruption of the nuclear family. They want the disruption of the biblical family. And we've given that to them in the black community to an extent to where the community is reeling to the point of dysfunction.
Into the mix, that I think not. I said it. Also, don't think that being pro-abortion, killing unborn human beings, which disproportionately affects us, is good for us. I still believe that black folk have a right to be born like everybody else. I'll never change from that. It's not written anywhere in the U.S. Constitution or anywhere. It's not written in any religion. It's not written in any place where people would go to even find a precedence that a woman has a right to have an abortion. Roe v. Wade was bad law. It was never put to vote by the people. The Supreme Court made that decision, and it was overturned and sent back to the states. So I did say that. But when I said that, something happened to me, and I've told many of you about it, but I need to tell it again because I am high profile, and the IRS, the government, watches me. I've heard from them. They've told me that. We know who you are. We're watching you. And they came to see me. Sent agents to see me. We met here. 3 agents, all of them from out of state. That's 3 plane tickets, 3 hotel rooms. I mean, they spent money to come after me.
They spent our money to come after a bishop.
And this is the same thing they did with Geno Jennings, where the FBI tried to get involved with him because of his dispute or issue with calling out Bishop T.D. Jakes on some things. For some reason, some members of the FBI tried to get involved, which they had no business sticking their dirty, filthy noses inside affairs between 2 church members or people between 2 churches. But, you know, my guess and my assumption is because T.D. Jakes is connected and has some Masonic connections. You know, I'm just going to leave that there. Why would the FBI get involved and come to Geno Jennings about that? Why? So again, Biden's FBI, Biden's IRS coming at preachers who are not on their side of the mindset of thinking, you know, ordered by Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland, who through Biden, right, told the FBI, Merrick Garland, by orders of Biden, told them to go and harass soccer moms and parents who would dare call out schools for pushing this Marxist agendas for, boys in the girls' bathrooms and boys playing in girls' sports, you know, and all the other different things that they're trying to push, and parents there having a mind to speak and voice their opinions, but yet they were being harassed by the FBI by even trying to have a voice and speak at these PTA meetings. This is the communists. See, and this is the thing. This is what gets me. Oh, Trump is a dictator, but all it is projection of who they really are. And then they all talk about rule of law, but they're the ones who don't want to follow the law. Again, Biden don't like the rule of law. So again, I know he's being ordered by those higher than him to say, okay, well, we want to overturn the number of justices in the Supreme Court or overturn the immunity case because they don't like the Roe v. Wade being overturned. They don't like all these different things being overturned against them, and they couldn't. You know what happens when you can't stop someone you truly hate? You try to assassinate them. Well, that failed. So I need you, black folks, to open your mind. Those who say, and what kills me the most is people who profess to be saved and born again and filled with the Spirit of God and have discernment, lack so much discernment because they've been brainwashed by the TV, brainwashed by the media. And, ignorance is bliss. And so they've programmed you to think otherwise about a person, a situation, a certain issue, or whatever, because you don't do the research yourself, or you hinge on one thing and you don't travel outside of that circle. Wake up, folks.
And
listen to me. I don't give a damn if Kamala Harris is black, if she's white, if she's Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, Indian. It doesn't matter. If she was a bad vice president, which she is, she's not going to make a good president. All she's done these last 4 years is tinker around the country with one talking point, only speaking in rhyme, and she has aided in the destruction of this country right alongside Joe Biden. If you're going to vote for that, knowing everything that you've seen these last 4 years, then you're an idiot.